My name is Alex Hirst, but my online name is Kazehaya. I'm originally from the UK, but I move around a bit with houses and gaming houses and stuff. But I also move around the UK quite a bit as well. I got interested in esports as long as I can remember. So that kind of weird kid you kind of see at school one day a week because he's just I'm gonna be the next big video gaming star. That was me. Well, I had to get into the industry twice. So I did it once on Call of Duty where basically I just attended loads of LANs and eventually I kind of just got, you play against the good. So in the earlier rounds of LANs of back in the day, the really good teams would just play against random teams that came. So I just kept on performing against the good teams, and eventually one picked me up. But when I moved to League, it was a much more established scene where it was a lot harder to get in. So my way to get in was just every time you scrim someone or every time you practice against a team, every time you kind of even if you get an offer just to kind of coach a low diamond team, take it, and every time you practice against a team, just add their manager, add their coach, add one of their players, and just make friends. Because the roster that turned into Wind and Rain eventually, I was friends with their manager and their top laner when they were at Esports in Spain. And when they fell out with their coach at the time, they were I was just talking to them and joking to them. Oh, if you need someone, I'll come, and just joking to their manager, just I'll just come do his job, And she was just okay, then come do it. And I became their coach, and then stayed their coach until Challenger Series. You'll see people who are going into the mid-20s, late 20s, who are still looking for that first break coaching job, but they don't really know anyone. And then you'll see someone who's 17 and he's the manager of an LCS team, just because all he does is just spend all his time meeting everyone and talking to everyone. The more people you know, the more people who know your name, the more likely you are to get a job. The way I taught my players was no one is here to kind of be the outright star because no one has the name. So basically, rather than playing to kind of be the kind of star to then get picked up by a better team, they basically played for each other instead to kind of play to win. So Dan would split push and just finish the game 0-5, but in that 0-5 he's taken 8 towers down the side lanes, just because he's sacrificing his score for his team. And it's the same way where people the support would intentionally just allow himself to die just to sacrifice himself for the team and just not care about his scoreline towards the end of the game. And it was just a case of they played for each other and not for the glory. Basically, they didn't play for individual glory; they played for team glory. I think the biggest thing that you have to overcome at first, especially with a team that's never been in a house or that's very new to it, is sleep is a huge thing to begin with. Just because I'm sure every single person that kind of sits at home in their bedroom kind of playing League all the time to try and get to that professional level will sit there until 6 a.m. At least a few times, at least I'd say at least 3-4 times a month they will sit there to 6 a.m. If you're doing nothing but League as your career, then your likeliness to kind of sit there till 6-7 a.m. is a lot higher. So you kind of need to set out a sleeping schedule for your players. You need to set out eating plans for your players, so everyone's kind of eating around the same time so it fits around practice. Everyone's kind of sleeping at decent time so they can get up in time for practice and kind of get a few warm-up games in before you actually start practicing and stuff like that. So when you're actually living in in a house and in a team environment, although you kind of want to stay up late and carry on practicing more, although you kind of want to eat at different times, it's just a case of you kind of just need to bend your schedule around what the rest of your team needs you to do. It depends on the person, because originally when I first looked at the kind of younger scene, I originally believed it would be younger people will struggle with the kind of pressure a lot more than the kind of more experienced people, but sometimes you kind of come across a few people that just deal with it perfectly well. They have their way of dealing that they've kind of found. So I don't know, like whilst climbing solo queue, they found like something that kind of untilts them, or like something that kind of just like calms them down when they need it, and like they can then deal with like competitive stress like to an okay level, just because they've already got their own system of dealing with it. But if you get a player that doesn't have a system of dealing with the kind of stress or the pressure from it, like whether they're like a young player or an older player, like you can kind of get issues with like the pressure from games and stuff like that. But it's got nothing. Like from what I found, it's got nothing really to do with age. It's just like whether you've got that thing that helps you or not. Um, I think like one of the biggest things now is like like LCS Worlds etc. is like really hyped every single time. Like even like maybe not in North America as much, but like in Europe, like even our national leagues are really hyped. So if you look at like just the Spanish league, which isn't like world widely known, like even in Europe, like it's still talked about a lot, and it still like gets a lot of viewerships, and so does like the German leagues and the French leagues and Polish leagues and UK leagues. Like they still get a lot of viewership, and it's just like constantly seeing those players like at that high level, like constantly kind of gives you that, like I want to be that person. I want to aspire to be that person. Like I think it's different from team to team. Like some people like kind of. I've dealt like so you usually have a shot caller on a team. I've dealt with some shot callers who basically like in game like if a team's going behind, like he'll constantly just be like, oh no, it's fine, we just need to do this, constantly reminding his team of like the win conditions in that game, what they need to do to continue to go on to win even if they are behind. But like say if you're like 2-0 down in a series or something like that, like a best of 5, like what I sometimes find is like it depends, like because we had it at like the Ragnorok finals where we were 2-1 down, and then we had like this ridiculous comeback game 4, and going into game 5, like our top player at the time, Dan, like he did like the Black Gate speech from Lord of the Rings. It's like I think it's like 2-3 minutes long. Like he basically has the entire speech memorized, and it's this huge like passionate like like we can fight and win sort of speech, and he just kind of like did that to the entire team at the time. But like I've also been in situations where like I've done speeches, or like usually someone will do like some huge talk to the rest of the team and like get them more motivated to continue to win, or like get their minds more in the right place that they need to be. The way I usually do it is I usually try and keep a track on my players, like because most players will have like secondary accounts, they'll have Smurf accounts and stuff like that. And usually, like as soon as I like join a team, I'll make sure that every player sends me every account they have, and if they get a new account, they send me that as well, because it basically lets me see if like they're playing too much. Because if you basically play from if you wake up at 8 a.m., play from 8 a.m. till like 2 p.m., go into scrims at 2 p.m., and then play from 2 p.m. till like 10 p.m. in scrims, and then once scrims are over, you then play like solo queue again until like 3 a.m. and then go back to sleep again. Like you could probably do that for like maybe 2-3 days at a time. If you try and keep it up for 2-3 weeks, like your play will actually start to suffer. Like you may not like get to a point where you're just like say like technically like burnt out to a point where you can't play, but you'll get to a point where your play will just suffer just because you're playing too much. Like you just need to like even if you want to play video games some amount of time, like it's fine, but you just need to play something else, or you just need to go watch something else. Oh, okay. I think the biggest thing is when you look at players is like there are certain personalities that will clash with other personalities. So if you have like someone that is very used to kind of like leading in game, or like someone that like if you got someone that plays well but like gets annoyed very easily but will complain but still carry on. So like they'll be like, oh this is stupid, this is shit, this is stupid, this is stupid, If you get someone like that, but they're still fine. You know that they will still play and they're still fine. They just want to kind of like just complain for like a split second. And then you also have someone who basically hates the people that act like that. You can't usually have them together. So like even if they're two like really good players, and like their play styles are really good together and everything, just because of the way they act in communication doesn't work together, you basically don't want to have them together. So what a lot of teams do when they're trying out players is like they either have like a tryout roster, so you'd have like 5 players or like maybe 7 or something. So like if you got 2 positions you're not sure on, you'd have 2 for each of those position. But you'd have like a tryout roster, and like so like you can either do like that where you would then scrim over teams, or you can do in-house tryouts. So I know like Wind and Rain, when they found the new roster of Challenger Series, they did in-house tryouts with about 30 different players. Where like it was just you create like random rosters for the day. So like it's like so and so playing with so and so this game, and then like that mix up each game. And you basically just see like kind of what works out together, like which people together like kind of add up to like kind of make the best possible roster there. So like when we did in-house tryouts at Wind and Rain, like we had a support ADC and top lane combination, where basically like the support called the game, like so he called the general like happenings in the game, and then the ADC called the bottom half of the map, and the top laner called the top half of the map. So basically the jungler only had to focus on the enemy jungler, and the mid laner just had to focus on his lane and his lane alone. And like that was basically the first time they played together as well. So like for the communication to work out that well, just in the first game they played together, is like really rare to find. But like once you do find something like that, it's really good to kind of keep if you can. Like it's just kind of like testing it and putting different people in. So like even if you've got like a 1000 LP top laner, or you've got a 200 LP top laner, like if the 200 LP top laner's communication is synergizing extremely well compared to the other one, like he's clearly your better choice and your better option to go with. I think it's great to like know you have people like constantly behind you, and like to have like, I don't know, say if you've got like a Discord etc where like people can constantly like support like each player and stuff like that, and each event, or like leading up to each event, or every time you win something you've got constant support there. I feel like the input is good. My only thing where I'm just a bit like a bit like kind of umming and ahhing on like full decisions is just like not every single person who kind of supports the team hears the like in-game communication, or sees every practice games, or sees every kind of like all the kind of individual arguments that may happen between the team and stuff like that. Like if you've got like 2 huge names on the team that's been in LCS for like the last like 2 years straight, like they may massively want to keep those people because they're fan favorite players, but like if they're constantly arguing every day, you kind of have to have one and not the other. But every kind of fan doesn't see what's happening on the inside of a team. The reason I coach is because like the reason I moved first of all from console to PC, because like I made it as pro and console, and I was basically forced to kind of retire as a player at like around like 16, 17, like basically what you start at in League. And the reason being is because I got like arthritis in my hands from really bad lifestyle, from basically doing like like that kind of whole wake up at 8, play all day, do practice and play all night. So a combination of that, eating badly, I smoked as well at the time, and like a combination of bad lifestyle basically made sure that I kind of got arthritis and I couldn't play anymore. So I moved to PC, which I could handle with arthritis, and then like when I realized I couldn't mechanically improve any further, or everything I tried wasn't really helping me, I looked at basically coaching instead, because I couldn't play. So that kind of is like one of the main things that led me to coaching, just because I kind of got to a point where I realized, yeah, my kind of chance as a player and everything like that is kind of over, and I can kind of use my experiences to kind of make sure that other people don't like ruin their careers. My drive is like, because like I lost a lot of my drive at one point, like because like I had the huge drive when I was like a small kid, like, and I wanted to get into Call of Duty and everything. I missed school, and like I used to basically like just go to school and like sneak off the grounds and come back home and play, or like I'd used to like go set off to walk to school, like basically like go play on like a Nintendo DS around the corner for like about an hour, and then come back to the house with like a spare key I had. And like just like constantly find ways to kind of like skip school and play and practice. But like when I got injured and like I kind of left Call of Duty, and then when I moved to League, like the kind of thing that drove me to kind of like go into kind of like fully drive for like esports again, like to kind of like not just do a job and do esports and just like fully do esports again, was like I used to listen to like like motivational music and like speeches and stuff like that, and there was like one speech I listened to, and like it was just like massively like, yeah, okay, yeah, like I know how much I need to work now to kind of achieve what I want to achieve again. And like the story is basically like there's like a regular man, and like there's like a really wealthy guru, and like this man basically goes to this guru. He's like, how do I get to where you are? How do I get to like be as like wealthy as you or be as successful as you? So the guru tells him, oh, like I'll tell you, like, but you need to like come down to like the beach with me tomorrow. So the man goes, like he's like a bit, weirded out, like, like why am I going to a random beach to find out how to get rich? So like what happens is the guru basically like leads him into the water. He's like, like come into the ocean, and like leads him into the water. Um and like some man goes in like to like say up to his waist, and he's still like a bit, confused. He's like come in a bit further. It goes up to like say his like shoulders, and he's just extremely kind of weirded out. Like the man's rich but crazy. And then the guru's like, like come even further in. So like he goes further into the ocean. He's like got the water over his head at this point, and the guru basically like holds him down underneath the water. Like holds him down. He can't breathe underneath the water, and like holds him down there. And then like after like about like minute 2 minutes, like 2.5 minutes sort of thing, he lets him come up and lets him breathe, and he basically says to him, you know once you basically want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, then you will succeed. you know once you kind of are in a position where you want to succeed, you want to do as well in life as you want to be able to live, and you want to be able to breathe, then you will succeed. So if you have like asthma, if anybody has asthma, like they'll understand. If you have an asthma attack and you're gasping for air, you're not in that moment. You're not in a position where you're like texting someone or calling someone or watching a random YouTube video. You're focused 110% on being able to survive that situation you're in. And you basically need to focus so much on like esports and like being able to succeed and doing everything you can to improve at what you do, and making sure that you succeed at what you want to do, that you don't let anything else around you distract you, or like to the point where it's so minimal that you make sure that you can succeed at what you want to do. And it was just like that story is like the kind of one where I was just like, I'm not gonna like waste time anymore watching like the kind of odd film, or like taking a break to do this or taking a break to do that, and like I just fully focused on like what I want to do, and just like I started doing like crazy hour-long days, and just like finding ways for me to fully focus, like where like I just used to stick music on and like just watch VOD reviews and just like sit there watching like the replays of games, and like learning the kind of small tricks of what every team does to succeed and win, and then teaching them to my teams to kind of go on and win as well.